Good day, Mr. McLean.
Hey Don, how you
Howdy.
doing?
Good pleasure
Doing well.
to
How are you?
Good.
good
Good.
pleasure to speak to you. It's a great honor. Um,
Well, that's very nice of you to say that. Thank you.
Jeremy, I'll let's get going.
Yeah, let's get right into it. The Day the Music Died Day is coming up February 3rd. To commemorate the big day, Don McLean's kind of re-recorded a new version of an American classic at this point. American Pie came out 50 years ago. Welcome to the show, Don McLean. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man.
American legend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's get into the into this new version. What inspired you to cut it again and revisit it?
Oh, it's really this group Home Free
Yeah.
is an a cappella group. It's their song, it's their performance. I just do sort of a cameo at the front and the end, and I'm in their video. But they wanted to do it, and they asked if I would like to participate, and I said sure. And it turned out, I think, it turned out very well.
Yeah, I agree too. So, just I'm in my 50s. Jeremy's in his 20s, and yet here we are, all these years apart, and we still know this song, and it still resonates with both of us,
And we're still talking about it,
and we're still talking about it. So what was it about this one particular song that just has taken a nation and inspired all these musicians, and just hey, we love
Well,
this.
rock and roll, has gone from being something like hula hoops and things like that for kids, and it's become a religion. And American Pie helped actually cause that to happen in a way because of the way that the death of Buddy Holly was treated in the song. And I did this because of my, I guess, Catholic background and the fact that I saw these large images, biblical almost, and wanting to write a large song about the United States, never realizing that all this would happen, of course. And it
right?
played right into the hands of this growing religiosity of rock and roll. And so all of a sudden you have this trio of people who died in these very sad circumstances in this cornfield in this godforsaken place doing this awful tour with a you know and it's a little window into that, and all of a sudden, and the thing about it is that Rolling Stone immediately
Mm.
attacked me for, yeah, because I was somehow on their turf. They were going to decide what the religion of rock and roll was, and how a little smartass like me could come up and write this song. They didn't want that. So I always thought that Jan Wenner could go fuck himself. And I thought I'm going to outlive that son of a bitch, and I have. But he's not with Rolling Stone anymore, from what I understand. But anyway,
Well, they've
uh,
totally jumped the shark since, originally starting what their original mandate was. Now they're just the complete opposite.
Well, let me stop you 1 second here. As a Kiss fan back in the 70s and 80s, Rolling Stone was never relevant because they just ignored all the popular bands. It was all about giving Yoko Ono 5 stars on every album. Not,
do
God
you
bless her. I love Yoko, but
do, do you remember that when they were like a tabloid
yes, I do.
folded over? That was a common way. That's how they started. Those were good articles that they used to write in those days. They were in depth and fun, and they were hippie and kind of
Right.
good. I like that, and I was obviously hurt when they attacked me, but I realized that it's my big mouth that always gets me in trouble, saying things I shouldn't and doing things maybe I shouldn't do, and so that was encapsulated in that song.
They were like the TMZ, but of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
more
and
intellectual.
as soon as you became popular, they hated you.
Ah,
So they
Well,
never
yeah,
wanted to deal with Alice Cooper. They never wanted to deal with Kiss. They never. It's just like, oh, come on, get over it.
but they liked Cat Stevens so much, and I could never figure that out. But I heard his records. In fact, my record producer came to my little house, which I bought one of the great things that happened with American Pie is that I was able to buy my own house.
hmm.
And once I had that, I said, I don't care about anything. They can't ever turn me out. The taxes were real low, like 3,000 a year. And I can live here, and I had lots of room space. I had 4 acres. I could shoot my gun off. I built a barn. I'd ride horses up in the hills, you know.
Nice.
And I really didn't care about show business after that because I had everything I wanted. And my man came up, Ed Freeman, and he brought a Cat Stevens record with him. And he said, you know, you're in kind of a renaissance. Do you realize you're part of something that's going on? Of course, I wasn't aware of that or care. I didn't care. I was always interested in my own ideas, and that was all, and still am. But I listened to the records that Cat Stevens made, and I thought, wow, you know, he made good records. But as I got down the road and listened to the words, it was almost like children's songs or something. You know, the words were not really this. It's what I'm trying to say to you guys, and you love records. I know both of you do. It sometimes the record can make a nothing lyric be heavy.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
You got like a nice guitar part under it, or something.
George Martin did that a lot with little fragments of Beatles songs.
Right.
You know, and
Well, you listen to a song like "Here Comes the Sun."
unbelievable, you know. Whereas normally, if I did that with the wrong people, you know, would just lay there, and all of a sudden it's this jackhammer that comes down. So the producer is extremely important in terms of giving weight, sometimes to nothing. You know, in my case, it was the opposite because my words and my lyrics were I think pretty good, and so they carried. That's why I was able to tour the world solo for 10 years and play all the biggest halls in the world.
Let me ask you just real quick about American Pie, though. I was talking years ago to Doug Fieger of the Knack, and I was talking to him about My Sharona, and he said, you know what? This song is like a golden albatross. He goes, it's golden because look at this pool and look at this car and look at my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's an albatross because every time I went to the record company with new music, they'd say, Doug, I don't hear another My Sharona. So, did that happen to you? Did it become so big and so part of the culture that every time you went with new music, the record companies would say, Don, seriously?
No, I don't have that kind of a relationship with record companies because first of all, Vincent followed that, you see, and it was so radically different from American Pie that they knew that I could hit home runs from both sides of the plate if I had to. Now, I was very sporadic, or I'd have had a lot more hits, but I wasn't after hits. I was after ideas, and sometimes a hit would happen, and not often. But I would go in, for example, when I was in Nashville recording, I had this tremendous desire to sing the song Crying. Well, what do you want to do that for? I said, because I got to do it. I can own this song. And so it became a #1 all over the world. But people were always fighting everything that I did. I didn't have the kind of I was always fighting, you know, with something about every producer. No matter how much I love them all because they all are very talented in their own way. They never really got their arms around everything that I could do. And I was always coming up with something that was outside of their realm of what Don ought to do, kind of thing, you know. I think people very quickly realized there was never going to be another American Pie. So they weren't looking for that, but they knew there could be hits, you know.
Right.
Let me just ask you about the cultural impact, because they talk about the day the music died in American Pie as the loss of innocence. Because, you know, in the 50s, rock and roll was fun, and there was the sock hop, and there was this. And when those three individuals died and the song comes, you know, it's as if we had to change music and the fun was sort of sucked out of it. And now we have to sort of get serious.
Yeah, but you see, that's what the song did. That's why Rolling Stone hated me, because I was designing the dialogue now. People were saying all these things that they never said before because of the song. You know, they thought these thoughts that they hadn't thought of prior to that.
Well, why weren't people talking about it? Why were they afraid?
Well, they weren't talking about Buddy Holly, I can tell you that. Buddy Holly was forgotten very quickly by everybody except the Beatles, maybe, and people that loved his music. They never forgot his music, of course. But I'll tell you a funny thing that happened. After American Pie had this year of insanity, and I mean I don't want to get into all of it, but it was as if I was a one person Beatle. People fainting and screaming and all kinds of stuff. And, I'm a kind of a thinker and not really into the how I dress or whatever. But meanwhile, they try to dress like me.
Mm.
But what was I trying to say now that was important? The song actually dictated a lot of what was going to happen, and all of a sudden everybody started writing that. I don't
Right.
Somebody put the day the music died on February 3rd. That suddenly it came from the people. You see, when they did that list of the greatest songs of the 20th century, there was a guy running that who was a hardcore rock and roll guy who knows everything about everything.
Mhm.
And basically, okay, American Pie was something else. And they went out to all these people, people in the business, regular folks, people that ran record stores, whatever, to see what would come back to them. And the guy said he couldn't believe that American Pie was as popular as it was with everybody out there, writers, musicians, uh, regular folks, and all that. So it was the people's choice, and the people took things from it, and they made a new version of the religion that Rolling Stone was trying to start.
Mm.
They did that from the song. I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, you know, this is my biography in a funny way. I'm like a outside looking in at things. I really don't like participating. I don't have a lot of friends. I'm not interested in everything that's going on, and I don't try to fit in. I don't care what people think about me or anything else. I have ideas that I'm interested in. That's
Yeah.
been my life.
You just want to be you, and you want to be the artist and be true to yourself.
Right.
You don't care about social norms or what the cool thing is. You just want to
Well,
be done.
and
But
that's
but we'll be your friends if you want. We'll
well, I can tell that.
we volunteered.
I can feel that.
You know what? Because I'm 26 and I work in top 40 pop radio today.
Right.
And with this big song comes out, recorded and released in 1971. It's interesting to hear about what the music world was like at the time, and with the press, and then the artists and the fans, and
Well, there was just barely was Rolling Stone. There was Cream. There were all these other funky magazines. Circus. And I did all sorts of features in all these magazines.
yeah.
Did a
Circus
lot of
was the
press.
best, by the way. Circus was fantastic.
Yeah, they had some neat pictures and so on. They would do, and there was New Musical Express over there, and there was a couple of other magazines, and they were, doing a great job, but just the energy of this music and the details and so on. Because prior to that, you couldn't find out anything about anybody.
Right.
All you got was the back of the record. That was it.
And now we find out too much. Let me just ask you about this. You mentioned Jan Wenner before, which of course brings us to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is this political mumbo jumbo. But you got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2004.
Yes.
I had this conversation with Lou Gramm, and he got inducted into the Hall of Fame with Mick Jones, the songwriters. And he said, that's the most important thing ever, because that means people listen to what I wrote and appreciate what I wrote, whereas the other one is a popularity contest.
Right.
How important?
It's actually getting voted on by your peers, as opposed to just like, a popularity contest.
I'll take anything I can get. So I just want you to know that any award I will be happy to receive. Any award that I don't receive, I don't hold it against anybody.
No, but to be recognized for your songwriting, that has got to have a special place in your heart.
I am very satisfied with everything that's happened to me. I've had so many things happen, and that's one of them, a wonderful thing. But I'm in the Grammy Hall of Fame, but I never won a Grammy. I was nominated for a bunch of them, but never won one. I've never had it together in terms of having a machine behind me like Columbia Records or, Warner Brothers Records. Those were the action labels, that got things done. And when you look back at rock and roll, in the 50s, which is the only area that I care about really, they were all on tiny little labels. Except for Elvis Presley, who was on, RCA, which was like a Swiss bank.
Right.
So, the Colonel signed him with basically a major label, and nobody in the majors wanted to sign a rock and roll act. You had labels like Phil LA of Soul and crazy little labels like that, with all these cool songs on them. You look at those nutty labels, man. They weren't affiliated with anybody. They went out of business 2 years later. So this was the thing. All of a sudden, the majors started signing acts and making it a big business. And then the audience penetration to sell. The Beatles sold 3 or 4 million. That was a big sale. And then all of a sudden you reach the Bee Gees and Michael Jackson with 28 million. The penetration, the size of that audience grew enormously throughout those years. And it was all because of this effort of guys, like you doing radio shows and the people writing about this stuff. And then now this, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I think, when you start inducting people 3 and 4 times, you're kind of running on fumes.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking for my first induction. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, Mitch, it'll happen someday, baby. Podcaster Hall of Fame. Just to go back to the point of, going out of business and stuff, with this whole stuff, you're trying to bring awareness to the National Independent Venue Association, where a lot of indie venues are really getting hit hard through this pandemic and stuff. Talk about all of that. And I mean, the whole fact that, promoters and stuff, I'm just reading in here, and you're pushing the home free fans to donate to NEVA. Make sure they're aware that, just because the Save Our Stages Act is passed, the work is not done.
80% of small venues are expected to close. At least in Canada, that's the number. That's
crazy.
Yes.
Well, that's the end of the whole support system for live music. These people have mortgages to pay. They've got taxes to pay. They've got to keep the building going empty. Nobody's in the building. And, even the big buildings, Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall hasn't had a show in a year. You imagine the taxes in New York, everyone's leaving.
Broadway is going to be gone.
The consequences of this thing are humongous. And the more we've spent, as a finance major in college, I have a degree in that stuff. We've spent $6 trillion trying to buy a year to get out ahead of this thing. And the debt was $2 trillion. And we were worried about that. And we've now added 6 more to it. And the people in there are going to add another 2 to that. And what do you think that's going to make money worth? Nothing.
Yeah.
So these are the things that are happening while we're looking around trying to find a magic bullet. And they haven't got the thing corralled anyway. They don't really know, it's this amount effective and the new strains and this and that. I mean, I don't mean to be, we're lucky because we can have some sort of fun, on the internet and talk about things and act like humans, but it's going to be tough for people to get together. And there's so many of these performing arts centers, that I've played thousands of them,
right,
that have been built up by local people raising money. A lot of times women's groups, who get together, and they're good at organizing stuff, and they get money raised and they fix up that theater, make it beautiful. And they're so proud of it, and they bring in these acts in. It's just terrible taking that away from the community,
Well, and the impact moving forward down 10 years, because, before the Rolling Stones, before the Beatles, before they got to Madison Square Garden, they honed their skills in these places. And now there's no place. So in 10 years from now, who's going to be in Madison Square Garden? They won't.
Well, you won't be getting maybe those places, but you will, because having started out in the folk thing in the late 50s, people would open clubs everywhere in basements and this and that. You're going to go back to a very primitive form of venue, which will allow, young kids to come in and rock and roll or whatever and cause a little excitement. You won't be able to take 25 or 30 or 50,000 out of that place or more, depending on how the tickets are scaled. But you will have places where people go to hear something get started, but it's going to have to go like from, once grass has been completely torn up from very dry ground, to start all over again. It's going to, I won't see it in my lifetime. I'll tell you that right now.
Jeremy might. I'm not sure I will.
I'm telling you, it's really, and what about sports? I mean, the idea of seeing the World Series with those cutouts, in the audience, man. I said, this is crazy, man.
Imagine playing a concert,
I can't
like
believe
that. You got
I
cutouts.
I can't believe I've lived long enough to see this.
I know. I mean, in hockey, they've just got tarps here. I just want to ask you real quick, in terms of new music, the last album came out in 2018, Botanical Gardens. You've stayed active. There's been what's that sound?
I don't know. It's the Botanical Garden.
Jeremy, what's that sound? Oh, Jeremy's frozen. Oh my God. Hold on. Let me text him and tell him he's frozen. What the hell? What the hell? Jeremy has frozen. Wow.
Wow, it's a Cardi B song. I love it.
That's the greatest. I have no idea what happened there. Well, hopefully, sorry about that.
Oh, I'm back. I don't know what the hell happened.
And you're only half back. We don't see your face.
There we go. I don't know
what the hell?
It just stopped for some reason.
Yeah, but it gave us a great rhythm and a great beat. So we actually took the time to write a new song while.
I don't have any music playing over here or nothing. That's so weird.
But that was, but anyway, let me just let's move on here to Botanical Gardens, because you've stayed active every 2, 3, 5 years. There's new music. Listen.
Yeah, I have a new album all ready to go for this year. I've got the songs all written. We're making the tracks. It's going to be a great record. I'm really happy with it. And we've got this album of recordings of other people's songs, still playing favorites, which just came out. And so, yeah, I'm busy. I feel.
But let me ask you. I'll ask you that sort of devil's advocate thing.
Sure.
Why bother? I mean, you could go and do American Pie and play it 10 times and have people show up. But there's a need to be creative, right? You have.
Yeah, I mean, I have ideas. That's the thing. That's why I'm here, is for ideas. And all my albums have lots of ideas on them, and I feel that. You can't always, if you want to judge an artist by commercial success, I've had a lot of that. But if you want to be, and I don't mean as a put down, but if you want to be James Taylor, he's even said he writes only 5 songs, but they're very good songs, but they're very commercial. I do all kinds of things, and I really can't begin to say it, but if you look at a song like Crossroads, it's not like And I Love You So, it's not like Castles in the Air. I just do a lot of different stuff, and so therefore I put myself automatically out of the big leagues, because there can never be any consistent hit making with that approach. But that is me. That is the true me, and I want to replicate that in my art. I don't like to call it art, but my work, whatever you want to call it. I want to be faithful to who I really am, what I'm really thinking.
Well, hold on. If it's not art, I mean, you're not building tables, right? No. I mean, it's not carpentry. It's not.
Carpentry's art. Carpentry's
art.
Art.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would agree.
How dare you, Mitch?
Well, no, and you're right. I think anything that requires a certain amount of creativity is artistic. So
the only reason I say that, I don't like it when people are too pompous about what they do. I just love what I do.
Right.
Yeah, you want to have fun and play some rock and roll,
Yeah, and I want it to have the right feel, and I want it to, knock me out when I hear it played back. It's what I want. And there's a lot of fighting that goes on, with producers and engineers, and because you can only get a certain amount right. And I love it when I'm with somebody, and I was with Larry Butler, he would do this, where he would make something much better than I thought it could be. That's what I always wanted in a producer. I hate it when I have to do the producing and say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. What the hell am I talking to him for? He's supposed to do it. That's why I always wished I worked with George Martin, because we would have been very good together. He would have taken some idea that I had and made, again, one of those monumental statements out of some silly language, which he was able to do.
Is that a regret in your career, not being able to work with George Martin?
It's not a regret, but I had a manager who was absolutely awful, and I had a meeting.
You usually are.
Yeah, that's true. I had a meeting with George Martin, and it never went anywhere. I think it's probably because he did something to because he was afraid of me getting out of the box, and getting discovered by people who could really take me places.
He was afraid of
Um,
getting you to be successful.
well, yes, Alan Livingston's. I won't mention the guy's name, but you can read it in my Wikipedia. But he said he knew talent, but didn't have a clue about what to do with it.
How to develop it.
And
Yeah.
in spite of all that, I still made it pretty big.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that I did it in spite of a lot of things. And I'm saying it's been a struggle. It has not been easy where you have the right management and the right record label and the right producer and, boom, you're just doing it. It's
Yeah.
never been like that. It's always been like arguments and bullshit,
It just seems like it's been a constant battle for you, but you've always
Yes.
come out on top and won,
Well, by the way,
I'm Scottish, you see. I won't stand for
like my wife. There you go. But I'll just quickly ask you this, because you talk about not working with George, but you've produced a lot of your own albums. So
Yeah.
how important is it to have that other set of ears in the studio? Because, you look at Todd Rundgren, you look at yourself, you sort of said, no, I'm going to control this. I'm going to be my producer.
Yeah. I could be a lot better if I had somebody that knew more stuff than I do. I don't want to know them. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I want to be the middle smartest, maybe even the dumbest, but a real good songwriter and singer. And let all the smart people. One of the things that's happening to me now is I'm working with some very smart people, and they're doing some good things. This documentary and this little children's book, and a guy named Spencer Proffer who does a lot of things. And
he did a Quiet Riot, Basha Records, all that stuff.
Oh, we are really
Pasha Records.
We have so many things that we're moving on now, and we're getting them. We've got the money together for the documentary. We've got it all going, and so I'm working with people who I can say, "Oh, just don't do anything I really hate," and then everything will be fine,
Yeah.
Sense. Don, let me just ask you real quick before we wrap up. You were around and you were a part of the golden era of pop music and rock and roll. What do you think of the music scene today? And is there anybody that's, on the radio right now, maybe that catches your ear or?
Well, my girlfriend is 26 years old, and she listens to a whole lot of stuff. And her favorite band is Ghost.
Oh, Ghost. There you go.
And
great.
I think they're terrific. I think they probably had a bad career blow with this pandemic, though. They were ready to blow. Really, really be big.
Yeah, they were just getting into arenas like last year.
I know, and she's heartbroken, and it just stopped their momentum. And who knows what's going to happen? I don't know, but that's a sad. They're really a very good group. That guy, the lead guy,
Tobias Forrest.
Tobias, yeah, he's a brilliant guy, and
Papa number 7 at this point or something.
Right, new album in 2021, by the way.
Yeah. So
by them, are they?
Yeah.
Coming out with something? Oh, I'll tell her that. She'll love that.
Yeah.
So
they just did. You can look at, by the way, not to cut you off, but they just did a version of "Sympathy for the Devil," the Rolling Stones song, on Swedish television, and it's all over YouTube. You type it in, and
she didn't like it. She didn't like that. No, she didn't think it was so good.
Yeah. Right.
She likes their songs that they do with their band and everything. And because I hear a lot of these other crazy groups like Chain Smokers and Oliver Tree or whatever his name is. These guys that do techno stuff and everything. So I'm exposed to a lot of stuff because of her, and I tell her it all sounds the same to me. Pretty much. It's sort of like a rhythm thing with a kind of a hook, and maybe it'll break down for a second and they'll go back to the rhythm thing and the hook. It's nice background music and it gives you energy. I suppose you dance around when you're, taking a shower or whatever, but it's not what I do,
Well, yeah.
No, but it's funny because they all have sort of those presets. There's a sound on most of these rap songs when my daughter listens to them, and it sounds like a clock. It just goes, and it's just like,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're listening to the clock again.
It's the way hi-hat sounds,
Well, the thing about it is that it's made everybody brain dead. You see, we got a brain dead audience out there, and now we don't have a place to seat them because all the theaters are closed. So it's not just happened automatically for the theaters to be closing. We've killed the brain of the audience. I asked myself, where is Duke Ellington? You know, where is Count Basie? Where are these great, sophisticated artists?
We still have Paul McCartney. He's still there. He's still there.
Paul McCartney, God bless him, is still there and still wonderful. And, you know, and a lot of them, but they're really quickly, of course, I will be here forever. Okay, I promise
Yeah.
you. I will always be here with an opinion and ready to rock.
Ready to rock. There we go.
Right. There you go. Well, you know, hey, brand new music video coming out on Wednesday, the day the music died. And check out Don McLean at Home Free. It's available for all, you know, the big new song. I mean, you know, this is great. Come on. It's a brand new version. Don's featured on it and celebrating 50 years, man. It's crazy.
Holy mackerel.
Yep.
How
I
did
know what
that
it's.
happen?
I know what it's like to celebrate 50 years.
Yep.
You know.
And you're going to be supporting independent local venues as well at the same time. So we want to make sure that the clubs are still there when everything comes back. Got to have somewhere to play.
I'm doing good and doing well.
Yes.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's all that
As we,
matters.
as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll talk again sometime, I hope.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
sure. Let's keep in touch.
All right.
Cheers.
See you later, Don.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. That was great. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Dude, I don't know what happened to your video, but
Uh-huh.
I asked him a question and it just started going like an alarm, you know, like clear
Yeah,
the building.
Dude, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, that's what happened to me during Phil Collin. All of a sudden, like the connection, like from my board, like started to go fritzy. So I unplugged my USB and then plugged it back in, and then you saw it took like a couple of seconds for it to come back up. But yeah, that's weird. I don't know. What
But it was making a weird sound. It was going, "Brr." So I'm talking, and I go, what's that sound? I thought maybe it was like his cell phone or something.
No, it's weird. Yeah.
So there'll be some cleaning up needed there for sure. But I was like, I was like,
No. We're gonna pull a Mitch Lafon and just leave it up.
yeah, well, I'll put it on mine. I'll say, when you do your show, reference it and say there was a big mistake, blah blah blah. And if you want to go see what the hell happened, go watch the Mitch Lafon, because we were having a great conversation. He's like, I'm writing a new song. I'm writing a new Beyonce song as we're talking.
Oh my god, I'm sure that's on. I'll have to listen back to it when I get the tape.
I'm hoping it's there. I mean, it says it's still recording, so.
Oh, it's got to be there. Yeah. So I'll check it out when I get out of here. So,
But it was funny anyway.
there you go.
That was good. That was 30 minutes. That was good. That was well done.
It's good to talk to Don.